research. He was the head of the department from 2004 to 2010 and from 2013 to 2016. Dr. Singh Sir is a DAAD fellow. He pursued postdoctoral research at the Ruhr University, Germany from 1988 to 1991. He was at the Karolinska Institute, Stockholm, Sweden as a visiting scientist and at Stockholm University, Stockholm, Sweden as a visiting professor. Dr. O.P. Singh Sir has successfully completed more than 15 research projects and published more than 90 research papers and 2 books. He has also supervised more than 10 students, leading to the award of a PhD degree. With more than 35 years of teaching and research experience, Dr. Singh Sir is a member of number of academic and professional bodies and has served as a referee of journals and worked as a subject expert and advisor. May I now request Dr. Om Prakash Singh Sir to take over the session. Thank you and over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And at the outset, I would like to thank the organizer, particularly Dr. Neog, for giving me this opportunity to share some of my experiences working in coal mining areas of Meghalaya. Let me first open the PowerPoint and then. Dhruv, this slide is visible or no?
Uh, it is not coming, sir. It will come, sir, in a moment.
Okay. All right. Now, I think now it will be visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
All right. All right.
Set up slides. Okay. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So sometimes slides don't move. So in that case, please inform me that it is not moving. So, but hopefully it will work. So very good morning to each one of you. I find that good number of participants have joined, more than 30. And
Yes.
I guess that it is a mixed group coming from different colleges and institutes, and they may be having different specialization. All may not be specialized in mining, Whether I am correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to talk on management of solid and liquid wastes generated during production of coal or during the coal mining. So
So, kind,
whether
so
slide is
kindly make
moving,
it, sir, make it full screen, sir.
it, it is full screen, I think. Okay, let me. Whether slide is moving or not.
It is not moving, sir.
Not
Uh,
moving.
Perhaps, sir, you have you click
Yeah.
just outside of the first slide.
Click the.
Click on outside of the slide because you
Okay.
are selecting the first slide.
But then slide is moving and there is some problem. Can we manage like this?
Oh, yes, sir, but it is not moving in
It is
this side,
not
sir.
moving.
Yes, sir.
What could be the problem? Yeah.
Uh, you select the next slide, sir. Second slide. Move to the
Yeah.
second slide, sir.
Yeah. I'm on second slide.
No, sir, you have still on first slide, sir. Here.
What could be the
Just double click on the slide, sir.
double click on the slide? Okay. No, then slide is moving, but
Now
now
it will
slide
move,
is
sir.
moving.
Yes, yes,
But
sir. Yes,
then
sir.
it is not in slide show mode. It
Uh,
is
Also make it full screen, sir. You just click on setup slide.
second slide.
No, setup slide. Slideshow. Under
Slide
slide,
show.
then setup slideshow. No, not that one.
Okay.
On setup slideshow, sir.
Where is that? Yeah, here.
Yes, this one, sir.
Uh-huh.
Then select the second bullet point.
This one.
No, on yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Then select manual on the advanced slide.
Manual.
Move to the right side, sir.
Okay.
Then you have an
Yeah.
option. Yes, yes. Then click OK.
All right. Let us
Now make
see.
it full screen, sir. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. It is coming, sir.
And moving also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So sorry for the trouble. So I will be talking about management of solid and liquid waste generated during coal mining or during production of coal. So you have already listened some lectures on waste generated by other hydrocarbons. But coal is also an important hydrocarbon, and currently most of the energy or a very high proportion of energy generated throughout the world is coming from coal. And if you see the developing countries or developing economies like China and India, here we are almost 70% dependent on coal for energy needs. So it is a dirty fuel, but still it is a very important fuel. And without coal, we cannot manage our economy to progress. But coal, as I said, that it is a dirty fuel, and during its production, different types of waste are generated. So we will be discussing two major wastes, that is solid waste and another is liquid waste. So in first lecture, I will cover the solid waste part. But before that, I will give a sound background of the coal. So In my lecture, I will cover importance of coal, why coal is so important despite it a dirty fuel. Then production of coal, how coal is produced or coal is mined, what are the methods we use, and then what different types of wastes are generated during the production or mining, and what are its environmental implications, the implications of the waste, and finally how waste we can manage the waste so that environmental degradation can be minimized. So these are the aspects which we are going to cover in this lecture. So I will start from very basic thing that we cannot imagine modern life or modern society which is not dependent on use of energy or electricity. So at present, nobody can imagine that we can live without using energy or electricity. We are using electricity or energy in different forms. Even in our pocket, we have mobile phone that also needs energy. So life without energy is not possible, at least in modern society. So all different sorts of gadgets we are using, our industries are using electricity. We are using energy to move our cars. We are talking about e-vehicles. They are also we will need electricity to charge the battery. Then so many other gadgets where we need electricity. The energy need earlier we used to fulfill by mainly by from the sun, and then we became dependent on the strong bodies, our strong bodies, by our own labor. Then we employed beast of burden, different types of animals, and then firewood, etc., for energy purposes in the primitive time. But nowadays, the machines and technologies introduced during the industrial revolution of late 18th century required the use of other energy sources, and we found fossil fuel, which is a very convenient, we found very convenient source of energy. So now most of our activities, our economy is fully dependent on fossil fuel. We are trying to phase out because fossil fuel has its disadvantages, but still most of our development, our energy needs are dependent on fossil fuel. So you know that hydrocarbons are fossil fuel, are coal, petroleum, and then gas, which is natural gas or PNG, LPG, etc. we are using. Let us see the word per capita primary energy consumption, how it has increased from the when industrialization started in the world. So we consider that after 1850 industrialization started. So at that time energy need was very less, and most of the energy was coming from firewood and little amount from the coal. But when we progressed, you see the beginning of the 20th century, amount of coal use has increased drastically. And then we discovered oil. And so we started using oil and coal. After that, we found gas also. So most, and this is hydro, and this one is nuclear. So you can see from here to here, most of the energy is coming from fossil fuel or hydrocarbons. So you can say that almost 70-80% of our energy is coming from fossil fuel. And coal and petroleum is a major contributor. The global energy demand has also increased in recent years, you can see the coal is with yellow line. See, in 1950, compared to 1950, the amount of coal we are using is almost 3 times more. So in last 70 years, the coal consumption has increased almost 3 times. At the same time, if you see the crude oil, its consumption has increased almost 4 times, or even 5 times, you can say. So there is a regular demand for energy, and for that we are consuming fossil fuel. And this demand will increase because our population is increasing, our industrialization and development is growing. So to meet all these aspects, we need energy. So in future also, energy demand is going to increase throughout the globe. The one of the main reason why our energy consumption is increasing. Every country wants to raise their GDP, and there is a direct link between energy consumption and GDP. So you can see example of Japan, and red line shows the energy consumption. It is in exajoules, and then blue line is the GDP. So when energy consumption is increasing, in the same proportion, GDP is also increasing. That's why, and every country is trying to achieve higher GDP. It means in future also we will be using more energy, and energy demand will increase. Another aspect which is dependent on energy need is Human Development Index. And it includes health of the people, education, income. And if you see the countries like Germany, Sweden, Russia, United States, Japan, all they are high consuming countries, and their Human Development Index is also very high. So not only for industrialization or for achieving higher GDP, we need energy. To improve the quality of life of the people, we also need energy. So here also there is a link. The countries which are using more energy, their Human Development Index is higher compared to those countries which are using less energy. If you see the example of India, here also you can see the electric power consumption in kilowatt per capita. In India, you can see from 2004 to 2014-15, there is a steady increase in energy consumption. And in this almost same proportion, there is increase in gross national product of the country. So everywhere, energy consumption is linked with GDP or GNP, and Human Development Index are the quality of life of the people. The main drivers which are driving the demand of the energy is the population growth. Now we are 7.5 billion or even more. Higher GDP, to achieve higher GDP, to achieve higher Human Development Index, and then we are moving to urbanization. If you compare last 100 years, the urban areas were very less, but most of the people are moving towards urban areas, so urbanization is also increasing. And you know that urban area consume more energy, and that's why demand is increasing day by day. Industrial development, without energy or without electricity power, industrial development cannot take place. Then technological development is also happening, and that also need energy. And our life is becoming energy dependent. If electricity goes for half an hour, everybody starts telephoning that what has happened. So we have our life has become totally energy dependent, and that's why energy demand is increasing day by day. Then with the development, our quality of life, or you can say our dependence on gadgets and other equipments, are increasing. So our life is becoming more energy intensive. 25 years ago, we were using few gadgets, but now we are using tens of gadgets in our houses. We are using more water, more other resources, and for that also we need more energy. So our life with development is becoming more energy intensive, and that's why we are using energy. And then globalization, export and import. Earlier, whatever was available in local area, we were consuming. But nowadays, people are buying fruits from Australia, other countries, and then similarly, other countries are using our products. So a lot of export import is going on, and that is the outcome of the globalization. And that also is forcing us to use more and more energy. And here also, export import, there is a major role of fossil fuel. As you see the power generation in India, it's increasing compared to 2009-10, it's increasing every year. Even the growth in power generation, in some years it is less, but there is a regular increase in growth rate of power generation. In 2011-12 and 2014-15, it was almost more than 8%, but other years it is less than 8%. But there is a growth, steady growth in energy or power generation, that is electricity generation. Now you see that from where our electricity or power is coming. So if you see the installed capacity, and this is the data of 2019, here, our most of the electricity means we have 56% electricity generation infrastructure based on coal and lignite, 7% based on gas, 1%, less than 1% on diesel, 2% on nuclear, 13% hydro, and then 21% renewable sources of energy. But this 56% is of data of 19. Now it has increased, and beside this 56%, the private factories have installed their own small powerhouse that is also based on coal. So if you see the total energy or power generation in our country is totally intensive on coal, and almost 70% of electricity is coming from thermal power plants where we burn coal, run the turbine by using steam, and then produce electricity. I will go to the history of mining in India, and particularly coal. The coal mining started in 1774, and East India Company at that time, British rule was there. At that time, East India Company granted first permission to an English company for mining of coal in Raniganj. At that time, it was part of Bengal. Presently, about 600 coal mines are operating in India. This is a lower estimate, and it could be more because coal mining is also happening illegally. So if you include all, it will be much more than 600 coal mines. So now the production of coal has different steps. The major steps in production of coal or coal mining is exploration, as in with any other mineral. Then mine development, extraction of coal, that is mining, And then it's stockpiling and transportation, because where coal is produced, it is not used there, rather it is used hundreds of miles away. Then abandoning and closure of mines. Once coal is finished, we close the mines. And then, so these are the 5 important steps. Exploration, all you know that in order to start mining, we have to know how much mineral is present, how much coal is present in that area. So first step is exploration. And once we know that how much coal is present in that area, then we start developing that area. That is called mine development. Means we construct roads, we develop mines in order to extract coal, and then extraction of coal or mining starts. As I said that where coal is produced, it is not used all. Rather, coal is transported from one part to other part by rail, trucks, railways, trucks, etc. And there it is used. So here is first coal is stockpiled and then loaded on railways or trucks and then transported. And finally, when coal is finished, then we close the mines and this. So all these steps, starting from exploration, mine development, extraction of coal, stockpiling and transportation, and then finally abandoning and closure of mines. All these steps have various environmental issues. And some of these environmental issues are short term, which we see for short term, and some are long term. The problem persists for a very long time. Now, before going to the waste, let us try to understand in brief what are mining methods adopted to extract coal. There are 2 methods are adopted, that is surface mining. Here, if coal is present near the surface, then we remove the overburden, the rocks present on the coal, and then we extract the coal. And this type of mining is called surface mining or open cast mining. The another type of mining is subsurface or underground mining. If coal is present quite below the earth's surface, then we make tunnel, a vertical tunnel, and through horizontal tunnels we approach the coal seam or coal deposit, and then with the help of manual labor or machinery we bring coal into the main tunnel, and from here with the help of crane it is transported on the surface of the earth, and from there it is taken to other parts of the country. So these 2 mining methods are adopted. In India, most of the mining is happening through open cast mining. Earlier, more mining of coal was by underground mining, but now we have moved to open cast mining. In other countries, underground mining is more, like United States, where underground mining is more. In China, underground mining is more compared to the surface mining or open cast mining. So these 2 methods are adopted. And if you see the underground mining, again, based on how we are extracting the coal, different methods are adopted, like room and pillar mining, long wall mining, short wall mining, high wall mining, retreat mining, etc. So I will not go into the details, but these are the methods used to extract coal in underground mining. And you can see some of the photographs of underground minings where tunnels are there and then rails are there to transport coal. And these tunnels are sometimes 500 meters or 1 kilometer zigzag inside the ground. So it is a very dangerous operation, particularly underground mining, and many times accidents happen and we lose the life of laborers and other machinery, etc. The open cast mining or surface mining, as I said, that when mineral is found near the surface, then we expose or we remove the overburden or rocks overlying the coal, and then we expose the coal and then start extracting the coal. And after extraction, you can see how big void is created. And here, these are some mining methods used in open cast mining, contour stripe mining, area stripe mining, open pit mining, agar mining, and mountain top mining. So again, I will not go into detail this. But if you see here, open cast mining, a vast area is disturbed. And this is the reason that open cast mining is more environmentally detrimental compared to underground mining. So environmental degradation is less in underground mining, whereas environmental degradation is more in surface mining. Why? Because in underground mining, we make tunnels and then we go there. All our activities are subsurface. But in surface mining or open cast mining, most of the activities are on the surface of the earth. And that's why this open cast mining is more environmentally detrimental. Then a third type of mining, which is relevant to Northeast India, is called rat hole mining, and that is happening in Meghalaya. In Meghalaya, the coal seam is very thin. So what people are doing, and most of this mining in Meghalaya is done by unorganized sector, and it is also done illegally. So since seam thickness is very less, so people make hole wherever they find coal. So they make hole, you can see here, and through this hole, the laborers enter in the coal seam. So they cut the coal seam and then they bring the coal outside. And since the height of the coal seam is hardly 1.5 meter and sometimes less. So if they cut this hole very wide, then it will be economically not viable and it will generate large amount of overburden, waste rocks. So what people are doing here, they make a very narrow hole, and sometimes they cannot stand in that hole, or most of the rat holes, people cannot stand. They have to crawl, and that's why the name has been given rat hole mining, and it is prevailing in Meghalaya and some other parts of the world, in Africa and other countries also. So this is the rat hole mining, and you can see some more pictures here. The coal seam is there, then they make holes and they enter, and then they bring the coal outside. So these are some pictures of rat hole mining in Meghalaya. As far as production of coal, see, we are talking a lot about clean energy, and we are trying to phase out hydrocarbons or fossil fuel, whether it's crude oil or coal. But the fact is, we are going to increase our consumption of coal in future also. And at least if you see here in this graph, this dark red is the coal production in China. So it is historical as well as projected. So if you see, and this is the coal production in India. So we are talking so much to reduce the use of coal, but in future also coal production, at least up to 2030, coal production is going to increase. And after that, when we have developed other sources of energy, then slowly coal production will decline. But next 8 to 10 years, our coal production and coal consumption is going to increase in order to support our economy. So if you see the facts of coal is the largest source of electricity in the world. Coal-fired thermal power plants contribute about 40% of electricity in the world. In India, coal-fired thermal power plants generate about 70% of electricity. So you can say that more than almost two-thirds energy is coming from burning of coal. Then world is slowly reducing its dependence on coal by replacing other sources of energy such as solar, wind, hydropower, biomass, and gas. But in spite of it, the use of coal is going to increase in future, at least till 2030, as I have shown the graph, particularly in countries like China, India, and other developing countries. So our demand of coal is going to increase. Here, if you see that most of the coal which we are mining is utilized by thermal power plant. So more than 64% of coal which we produce is utilized to generate electricity. And rest is used in steel and washeries, in production of cement, and then other small scale industries. Coal is used. But majority of the coal which we produce, most of the coal which we produce is being used by thermal power plants. As I said that we are trying to reduce our dependence on coal. So in 2019, 72% of our electricity was coming from coal. In 2023, we will reduce to 64%, by 2030, 56%, and 2040, 42%. So it's not that after 2030, we will not use coal. But the amount which we are consuming will reduce, but coal consumption will continue for even decades, because suddenly we cannot stop using coal and we cannot switch over to other sources of electricity. So since power consumption is increasing, or power production is increasing, so even if we are reducing the proportion to 42%, probably the amount of coal which we consume to produce 42% of electricity may be equal what we are using today. So ultimate net consumption may not reduce in the same proportion, because this 42% may be equal to 70% or 60% of coal which we are using, because the amount of energy or power is going to increase. So that's why our dependence will decrease on coal, but it will not, the amount of coal consumption will not decrease in same proportion. Here you can see in India's coal production and consumption. So you can see here till 20, this is the projected, this is the production and this is the consumption. So there is a gap between production and consumption, and we are not able to, our production, domestic production is not sufficient what is required. And this is the reason we are importing coal from other countries like Australia, Australia, Indonesia, and some other countries. And the reason for import is another, that is because some type of coal like anthracite is available in very less amount in the country, in our country. And that's why we are importing good quality of coal from some other countries to meet the requirement of the steel industry. So in future also, the consumption will be more compared to the production. And we have to meet that gap by importing coal from other countries. And this is happening in China also. They are also importing from other countries. And this is the reason is that in last 2 years, the coal price in international market has increased drastically because the countries which are exporting coal, they know that India and China require more coal to sustain their development. And that's why they have increased the price. And in future also, the price of imported coal will be more. The other problem is the coal sector has in recent years, in 5 7 years, or even you can say 10 years, there were several problems. And you know that the present government blamed the previous government that there was a scandal in coal mining or allocation of coal blocks to private firms. Ultimately, what happened, I will not comment. But due to all these upheaval, the coal production in our country could not increase at the same rate with the rate of demand. And that's why, due to different problems, we are not able to, we have coal reserves, but we are not able to produce sufficient amount. And this is the reason that you can see that in future also it is going to production will be less than the consumption. If you compare a good fuel should be readily available. It should be cheap. It should be easy to store and transport. It should be moderate. It should burn moderately. It should not be very highly inflammable. And it should generate sufficient heat. Then other quality of a good fuel, it should not give much pollution. And it should not generate much waste. So if you compare the coal is readily available, particularly in countries like India and China. We have sufficient good deposits of coal. Since it is readily available, it is cheap and it is easy to store and transport. You can store coal for decades. Since it is solid material, you can transport very easily. Then it burns moderately. It is not very highly inflammable. Otherwise, it will be not easy to store and transport. Then it generates sufficient heat. So on 5 points, its availability, cost, storage and transportation, the burning quality, and energy generation, the coal is a good fuel. But if you compare with the other, no pollution and no waste, then coal is not a good fuel. Because coal is considered a dirty fuel. It generates different types of pollutants. It pollutes our water bodies, it pollutes our atmosphere, it pollutes our soil. So here, it is not meeting the requirement of a good fuel. Similarly, if you see the waste, then here also a lot of wastes are generated. And these waste include solid waste as well as liquid waste. So coal is a good fuel, but from environment point of view, it is not a good fuel. So let us summarize this thing that coal is a sedimentary heterogeneous rock formed in millions of years from plant materials. Coal is a major source of energy in the world. About 70% of electricity in India is produced by burning of coal in thermal power plants. In our country, Jharkhand has largest reserve of coal, while Chhattisgarh is the largest producer of coal in India at present. So largest deposits, it is present in Jharkhand, but production-wise, Chhattisgarh is producing more. India has Gondwana and tertiary deposits of coal. There are two types of coal found in India, that is Gondwana coal and tertiary coal. Tertiary coal is young coal and the quality is not good as Gondwana coal. So, but both are found in Northeast India. Most of the coal is tertiary coal, and that's why it is a compared to Gondwana coal. It is the formation of coal found in Northeast India is young formation, and it is not fully mature. That's why it is not of good quality. If you see the types of coal, there are four types of coal: lignite, subbituminous, bituminous, and anthracite. The age of lignite is very less. It is about it was formed, it started farming about 60 million years ago. If you see the subbituminous, it is 100 million, it started farming 100 million years ago. So it is relatively older. If you see bituminous, it started farming 300 million years ago. So it is further older. And the oldest one is anthracite, which started farming about 350 million years ago. And if you see the composition of different types of coal, lignite contains 60 to 70% of carbon and 53 to 63% volatile matter. It varies from source to source. Subbituminous and bituminous, you will find about 70%, 80% carbon and 30 to 40% volatile matter. In anthracite, almost 90% is carbon. Only 3 to 8% is volatile matter. And in a good anthracite, volatile matter is just 3 to 3%. So in this, you know that carbon actually burns. And that's why anthracite gives less pollution. Lignite, subbituminous gives more pollution. And in Northeast India, we have subbituminous coal, mostly subbituminous coal. Bituminous is found in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and anthracite is very, very less available, very in little amount at some places in our country. Otherwise, we are all in anthracite coal we are importing from other countries. You can see here the distribution of coal compared to crude oil. The distribution is more democratic. It is distribution of coal is more democratic. It is distributed throughout the world. You can see that it is found on almost every continent. It is present in North America, South America, Asia, Africa, everywhere coal is present. These dark patches are the coal reserves or coal deposits. Even in Australia, you can see. So it is homogeneously distributed throughout the continents, and most of the countries have little or more coal reserves. In India, you can see it is found mainly in the eastern part of the country, Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Bengal. and then some in western part, and that is mostly lignite. Then we have in northeastern part, but amount of coal is very, very less in northeastern part. So most of the 99% coal which is found in our country is confined, is deposited in the eastern part of the country. So any mining generates solid waste, liquid waste, and different types of gases which affect almost all components of environment, that is land, soil, air, water, forest, biodiversity, wildlife, human health, etc. In coal mining, the major issues or major problems are environmental issues, social and cultural issues, economic issues, health and safety issues, and sustainability issues. We will mostly focus on the waste generated, but before that, you can see the distribution of coal in Northeast India. It is present in Meghalaya, Assam, little in Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland. But if you see the amount of coal present in Northeast, it is very, very less. Total coal present in India is about 3,15,149 million tons, which is 100% present in of India. In northeastern region, including all states, Arunachal, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, and Sikkim, it's just 1,703 million tons. And if you compare this, it is just 0.54%. So total coal present in northeastern India is less than 1% of the total coal of India. So you can imagine that how much coal is present in eastern part in states like Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Bengal, Odisha, etc. Because most of the coal is confined in that area. And other problem in the northeastern coal is subbituminous type, which is younger and produces more pollution, whereas the coal present in eastern part of the country is older coal, which is bituminous type, and it is little better quality. If you see the top 10 countries with largest coal reserves, United States has largest reserve. It's a big country also. That's why after that in Russia has, and then Australia, China, India. India is the fifth, has the fifth largest deposit of coal. And after that, Germany, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, South Africa, Colombia, etc. So resource-wise, we are not poor. We have sufficient coal in our country, which can last for centuries. But problem is production. And that's why we are importing from other countries. Now I will focus on the waste generated by coal mining. I will take you to the previous slide, that is the open cast mining, where if coal is present near the surface and the rocks which cover the coal deposit. So in order to produce coal, first rocks are removed. Means rocks which are overlying the coal deposit. And these are called overburden, or we also called waste rocks or spoil. And it is solid waste, and it includes materials such as soil and vegetation, because on the surface you will find soil and vegetation, then rocks, sand, etc. And so this is the major waste, solid waste produced or generated in coal mining. As I have already explained that open cast mining generates more waste, compared to the underground mining or subsurface mining, because in open cast mining, we have to remove the overlying rocks. But in underground mining, we directly approach to the coal deposit, leaving aside most of the overburden where it is situated, and with the help of tunnel, we remove the coal and take out from the mines. So surface mining generates more overburden than the underground mining. Sorry, there is a misplaced slide is misplaced that, but some. Okay, I will give some more information about, because slide came here somehow by mistake. So production wise, if you see the coal production in 2017 by top 10 countries, China was the largest producer. After that, United States, Australia, and then India. And now India has become third largest producer of coal. As I said, that Jharkhand has the largest deposit compared to other, but the Chhattisgarh produces more. Here you can see Chhattisgarh production is 21%, 21.7%, whereas other states are producing less. Here, Odisha is also a good producer. Jharkhand 19%, Odisha 21%, Madhya Pradesh about 16%, Telangana about 9%, and then West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, and you can see in Meghalaya it is just 0.56%. Yeah, I was talking about overburden. So overburden is solid waste which we generate while doing mining. Another waste which we generate in coal mining is liquid waste, and that is wastewater or acid mine drainage. And then different types of gases are also generated when we do the coal mining, and main is methane. The wastewater and acid mine drainage we will discuss in next class, in next lecture. And here I will briefly discuss about the overburden. As I have explained that overburden is all the material which covers the coal deposit. It includes soil, vegetation, rocks, sand, and so many other materials. So overburden is problematic. It is environmentally detrimental because it contains hazardous substances. And these substances include heavy metals, metalloids, radioactive elements, and then acids. And if we store overburden, then what happens? All these hazardous materials like heavy metals, metalloids, radioactive materials, and acids, they are discharged on land or in water bodies or in our atmosphere, and this way they are hazardous and they are environmentally detrimental. They affect the plants and animals. If these hazardous materials like heavy metals, metalloids, radioactive elements, acids, etc., are going to our environment, to our ecosystem, then plants and animals are affected, our health is affected. In most cases, the effects are long term. You know that if radioactive materials are entering into the ecosystem, and from there to the body of the animal, then different types of health problems can be caused, including cancer. And that's why the most of effects are long term. It is therefore very important that proper management of waste is done in order to avoid environmental problems as well as problems to the health of plants and animals. How we can manage the overburden which is generated? The amount of overburden generated from during coal mining depends on the mining method. Some mining methods generate more overburden, some generates less. It also depends on the where coal is deposited. Suppose if coal is deposited near the earth's surface, then we have to remove little amount of overlying rocks, so less amount of overburden will be generated. But suppose it is little deeper, then huge quantity of overburden is generated, and this overburden is a big problem in coal mining area, where the problem is if you dispose of on the surface, then it it spoils the fertile land. It destroys the vegetation, wildlife, and that's why proper management is required. And since it contains different types of hazardous materials, so we cannot dispose of in a irresponsible manner. So the management has few key points by which we can manage overburden. The first is reduction by adopting proper mining method. If coal deposits are deeper, then it will be better to do underground mining rather than doing the surface or open cast mining. So it is very important, depending on that what mining method we should adopt. Even in underground or open cast mining, we have to choose a suitable method in order to reduce the generation of overburden. So we can reduce the amount of overburden by choosing a proper mining method. Then if we are able to reduce, that's very fine, but still overburden or waste will be generated, and where to dispose of. So the best place is backfilling the voids in mines. Wherever mining is done, if we have removed the coal, if possible, we have to fill that void, that the empty space, and there we should take the overburden and fill. And if we are backfilling the void, then many problems can be avoided. Because if there is a void, there is an empty space inside the ground, there is chance of collapse of the surface, the subsidence of the surface. And that happens if mines are not backfilled. But again, if we are backfilling, that it is a costly affair for the mining industry. So we should try as much as possible to backfill the voids or empty spaces created by removing the coal. Then another way we can manage overburden is dumping waste on wasteland with proper slope and compactness. We should try to dump overburden on fertile land. But sometimes it is difficult to avoid because huge quantity of overburden is generated, and dumping is required large amount of land area. So what industries are doing, they are dumping even on the fertile land. And this way, we are degrading our land. So, but we should try to utilize the wasteland, because once you are dumping the overburden, then all the vegetation, all the flora and fauna present on that area will be destroyed. So we should first try to dump overburden on wasteland. If more land is required, then we should try to remove the soil. First, we remove the soil, store it, and then we dump the overburden. Why we should remove the soil? Because the soil, the top layer of the surface, is the fertile soil. So if we are removing and storing somewhere and then dumping, then same soil we can use to cover the overburden or the soil, and this way we can eco-restore, revegetate the dumping area in an easy way. So that's why we should try to preserve the soil present on the surface, and after dumping we should cover that dump with that same soil, so that revegetation or eco-restoration becomes easy. If you have little experience of mining area in Jharkhand or Bengal, West Bengal or other states, huge area is covered with overburden. And this overburden is mostly rocks, sands, and they don't favor the growth of the plant. So revegetation or eco-restoration is a challenge. And if you are using proper method, that we are restoring soil and then covering that overburden or dump area with a proper slope, and then trying to revegetate with local species, then in 10-20 years, we can make that area covered with vegetation. So we should try to do that thing. And nowadays, it is compulsory to restore the dumping sites by adopting proper method. The next step by which we can take care of our waste is gainful revegetation of dumps. If we are able to eco-restore, then what happens, that plants starts growing, and then succession starts. First, very hardy plants grow there, and then they generate humus. Then the soil becomes little fertile, and then some more plants come on that area, and then area becomes covered with vegetation. We should try, there are certain hardy plants which are useful, like lemongrass or gijipus, like bear, and some other species. So if we are revegetating our overburdened dumps with such type of economically important plants which can grow easily, then we can revegetate, we can eco-restore the area. At the same time, we can generate income also, because revegetation or eco-restoration needs money, lot of labor, machinery, nursery. So if we are revegetating with economically important plants like lemongrass or gijipus or some other species, then some products we can get from that, and that money can be utilized in order to revegetate other areas. The final step by which we can take care of our waste is using the waste or the overburden in a productive way. And that's why nowadays many coal mining companies are converting overburden into sand. You know that with the infrastructure development, with construction going on, there is high demand of sand. And most of the sand we are doing, sand mining we are doing, is from the riverbeds. And when we are removing the sand from the riverbed, then we are disturbing the river ecology or river ecosystem. So if we are able to convert rocks, overburden rocks, into sand by milling it, then same sand we can use in construction industries, and at the same time we can reduce the overburden. And many coal companies, coal mining companies, are converting overburden into sand, and then they are selling sand to construction sector. It is also possible to make overburden into bricks, particularly sand part of the overburden, which are granular. We can mix with cement and convert into bricks, and then these bricks can be sold to the construction industry, and this way also we can reduce the overburden, as well as we can generate money for the developmental activities. Then we can also use overburden for paving the kacha roads. And these kacha roads can be in the mining area, or we can, if new construction of road is going on, there we can throw this overburden, we can pave the overburden, and this way we can use overburden in a gainful manner. Then if overburden is generated, many times when we construct houses, then we have to keep our plinth at a higher elevation, and we need filling that area in order to raise the level, and mostly we are using soil. But if overburden is available in nearby area, so that overburden can be used to fill the plinth area in order to raise its levels, and this way also we can utilize overburden in a gainful manner. Then using and building material. If the overburden contains strong rocks, boulders, then those boulders can be used as building materials to construct houses, bridges, or other civil works. So if we are managing our overburden in this way, we will be able to reduce the overburden. We will be able to save our land. Otherwise, if we are simply dumping on the fertile land, then we are degrading our land. And so we should try. And nowadays, in last decade, lot of such activities, that converting into sand, making bricks, using overburden in paving the kacha road, etc. The companies have started doing all these things in order to take care of overburden problem. If we are not properly managing overburden, then it will cause different types of environmental problems, including degradation of land and landscape, effect on water resources, because overburden contains pyrite, Fe2S. And this pyrite, when oxidizes, when comes in contact with air and water, it forms acid. So if we are dumping in open, and so during rainy season, the pyrite present in overburden is oxidized, and then along with rainwater, acidic seepage goes into the nearby rivers, and it pollutes our rivers. Then overburden, if we are dumping, it contains loose materials like sand and other loose materials. And during summertime, when wind blows, then these loose materials, the smaller particles, they fly into the atmosphere and cause air pollution. Then impact on soil, we will see later on in detail how overburden is spoiling our soil, its quality. If you are recklessly dumping overburden in forest area, then we are destroying the forest. Then we are destroying flora and fauna of that area, including the wildlife. So that's why we have to manage properly the overburden generated in coal mining. Otherwise, only on land, the landscape will be disturbed. It may cause subsidence because it is loose material. There is loss of topsoil if you are not removing topsoil from the area where we are dumping overburden. Then degradation of soil quality and loss of fertility of soil. And if there is loss of fertility, then production will be less. Let us see how soil is getting degraded due to
हो गया
dumping of overburden. Here you can see
तो आज इतना तक रहने दो 11
here we have data of soil affected by overburden. The first one is the soil from an agricultural field, which is not affected by overburden, and other sites are affected by overburden. So you can see the sand content. If in unaffected soil it is 54%, in affected it is 63%, 60%, and again 60%. So sand content of soil increases, and you know that if sand content is more, the fertility of soil will go down. Then content of the silt, it also increases, and this way also soil is affected. On the other hand, if you see the clay, which is the most important part of the soil, it decreases because when sand and silt is increasing, clay decreases, and this way also fertility of the soil is affected. The other way seriously soil is affected is through the pH. As I said that overburden contains pyrite, iron sulfide, and this iron sulfide when oxidizes in presence of air and water, it produces acid. So a pH of a normal soil is 6.3. This is the data of Northeast India, Meghalaya, where soil is little acidic. So affected soil, the soil affected by overburden, pH is very less, 3.8, 4.1, 3.3, which is highly acidic. On this highly acidic soil, vegetation will not grow properly. So soil is also affected by acidity generated by oxidation of pyrite present in overburden. The other way soil is affected is the content of organic carbon. You know that organic carbon is very important nutrient in soil, and it is required for growth of plants and vegetation. And here you can see that unaffected soil, if organic carbon is 2%, in affected soil, it has reduced to 0.5%, 0.6%, 0.2%. And this way also fertility is affected. If you see the available nitrogen, available phosphorus, they are also reduced in overburden affected soil. Other way, the microbial activity is also reduced because the bacteria, fungi which are present in soil, in normal soil, they are not present in overburden. And you know that these bacteria, these microorganisms, they play important role in nutrient cycling. And if their population reduces or if they are absent, then availability of nutrients will be lesser and lesser. And this way, fertility of soil affected by overburden goes down. And ultimately, if farmers have their agricultural fields near the dumping ground where overburden of coal is dumped, then their agricultural fields are spoiled in long run, and slowly their production decreases, and a time comes when they don't grow crops because the productivity is very less and it is uneconomical. So this way, if overburden is not managed properly, it is affected in a serious way. So soil is affected by low pH, which is by generating acid by oxidation of pyrite, which I have already explained. Then soil becomes rich in inorganic constituents like sand, silt, etc. Then reduction is organic constituents like carbon, humus, etc. And this way also fertility is affected. And reduction in soil organism, whether it's microorganisms or other organisms, in overburden you don't find, or you will find in very less number, and this way nutrient cycling is affected. And finally, degradation of soil reduces the fertility of soil, and it affects the plant growth and less production. And this way, the land affected by overburden becomes less productive, and ultimately farmers have to leave the farming. They have to abandon that land. So that's why it is very important to manage the solid waste that is overburdened in coal mining area. Uh, I think I will stop here, and if you have question, you can ask and we can discuss. And the liquid waste is equally important, which is generated in coal mining area, and we will be discussing in next lecture. So that's all in this lecture, and if you have any question, I will be happy to answer or discuss those things. So thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your detailed, practical, informative, and enlightening session. And if participants have query, they can unmute themselves to interact with sir, or they can also ask their query in the next session, which will start at 3 p.m.
Yeah, still means time is there, so if they have some questions, they can address to
Yes,
me.
sir, yes.
Yeah.
Participants are requested to unmute themselves if they have any questions. Thank you, sir, for sharing your deep knowledge with us regarding different coal mining processes and the distribution of coal in India and Northeast in particular. Though the reserve in Northeast India is not that high, we hope the available resources can be effectively produced to contribute to power supply, improve the power supply scenario of Northeast India, and for providing us knowledge on solid waste generation and how to manage void mine sites, because that is one of the contributor, as we have understood, of the environmental issues. And really appreciate the outstanding presentation and how you nicely link the human development index and energy supply. And in India, coal is still is playing a big role in providing in generation of electricity through coal-fired power plants. So coal is always an important fossil fuel like other fuels. Since participants have do not query, before we end this session, sir, I would like to request you to be with us for a group photo session with our resource person and the participants. Participants are requested to turn on their video for a photo session with our resource person.
In Shillong, it is very cold, so
Yes, sir. Please take care of your health also, sir. I think I hope you will recover very soon, sir.
no, there was no symptom. Means it was just on paper I was positive, otherwise I was normal. But they have
Yes, sir.
isolated me, home isolation, home isolation, and which is going to finish tomorrow. So there is no problem.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So once again, I would like to thank sir for being with us in this FDP and sharing his immense knowledge and enlightening us all. And we'll be waiting for your next session at 3 p.m. sir. And I would like to thank all the attendees also for being in this session and making it a very successful one. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
So should I
we'll
leave
meet
the
again.
meeting?
Yes, sir. You can leave, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So participants, we will meet again in our next session at 3 p.m.